How goes the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys having a great and exceptional day. Alrighty. So it's when it comes to Gullah-Geechee culture, I've always been very fascinated with it, and this is a great opportunity to somewhat talk. An article today talking about the Longshoremen Gullah-Geechee. I thought that was fascinating, to be honest with you. And it's talking about people who came from the South Carolina Geechee culture, Gullah-Geechee culture, and they worked the ports throughout the various parts of the United States. Excuse me. And they were able to help. There weren't that many good job opportunities. If we're talking like the late 1800s, early 1900s, there weren't too many good job opportunities for Black men in the United States of America at that time. You coming out of slavery in the United States of America. Certain parts of the country had Jim Crow, meaning, the whole separate but equal approach and things of that nature. And I remember I went live talking about a video of the porters. So, you had the porter jobs for Black men. You had the people who worked down at the docks, any sort of skilled trades and whatnot, a lot of times, mainly labor jobs for Black men at the time. Even to be a carpenter, things of that nature, to be an electrician. Most people, didn't have as much indoor plumbing at the time. Like I said, we're talking about the late 1800s, early 1900s. So you got to think about, when it comes to good paying jobs for working people. But at the end of the day, Gullah-Geechee culture, to the folks who are considered Gullah-Geechee, nothing but love and respect for you. This is not, I'm not downgrading the culture of the people of South Carolina. And I remember the first time I heard of Gullah-Geechees was from a coworker who was from Columbia, South Carolina. Great man, and he told me all about it. He even showed me, this is like back in 2010, 11 time frame. Seems like it was a lifetime ago, but I'm going to read the definition verbatim before I even go forward. So Gullah-Geechee people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on the rice and indigo and sea island cotton plantations of the lower Atlantic coast. Many came from rice-growing regions of West Africa, specifically Sierra Leone. The nature of their enslavement on isolated island and coastal plantations created a unique culture with deep African retentions that are clearly visible in the Gullah-Geechee people's distinctive arts, crafts, foodway, and music and language. Gullah-Geechee is a unique Creole language spoken in the coastal areas of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Gullah-Geechee language began as a simplified form of communication among people who spoke many different languages, including European slave traders, slave owners, and diverse African ethnic groups. The vocabulary and grammatical roots come from African and European languages. It is the only distinctly African Creole language in the United States and has influenced traditional Southern vocabulary and speech patterns. So I just wanted to read off the definition of that, and like I said, nothing but love and respect. Hey, I myself I've only been through South Carolina twice in my life, and that was as a child. So as an adult, I need to get back to South Carolina to to embrace and bask in the joys of Gullah-Geechee culture and go from there. All right, just keeping it positive and simple, because that's what this channel is all about. So I leave it at that. So anyways, if you do not know, like I said, about the Gullah-Geechee culture, I just read off about it. And like I said, it's a very great rendition. A few reminders, a few remain to tend to their seafood eateries, and while others ventured, because you got to think about the Great Black Migration. A lot of people ventured north to places like Philadelphia, New York City, which Philadelphia has one of the biggest black populations in the United States of America, to seek greater opportunities by the Roaring 20s. More than 50,000 black farmers left the state of South Carolina, heading north because of Jim Crow laws and racially motivated attacks. Also drove African Americans out of South Carolina, especially in the years of Governor Cole Lease from 1911 to 1915, praised lynchings as necessary and good. And like my family members from North Carolina and Virginia, they headed to places like New York City, Norwalk, Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts, and Newark, New Jersey for better economic opportunities. So anyways, too bad that but this it's sad in certain aspects. It was great and good in certain aspects, and it was bad in a lot of other aspects because lots of land that was actually owned by Black people during that Great Migration of the early 1900s was actually lost because people didn't fail to pay the taxes, or family members didn't really try to do their best to maintain it on any level. So things happen, unfortunately. Or you got the thing called eminent domain too, which I've been a participant in, when you own land and the local government has the opportunity to legally take eminent domain, and at least from a legal standpoint, they're supposed to pay you what you're owed, but that's another story for another day. The article also stated that there was some Gullah men who packed up alone with their families and moved to the ports of Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia to take jobs as longshoremen. Unlike some skilled trade jobs, the Black longshoremen had a history that predated the Civil War back to the colonial era, when enslaved Gullah-Geechee men were often allowed to take jobs on the docks and wharves. Many, like Robert Smalls, was skilled at almost every part of water transportation, working beside his other counterparts. He had skills and knowledge of the waters and won him the coveted assignment to steer the Confederate CSS Planter, a lightly armed Confederate military steamer that he commanded to escape from his enslavers with other crew and their families. Mr. Smalls leveraged his agency to snatch freedom and deliver Confederate guns to the Union or United States Navy, and no matter what the situation is. Nowadays, port jobs, especially maintenance positions and people working on ships, will always be in demand, family. The article also stated that most Gullah-Geechee longshoremen would not have an illustrious career as Smalls, but they would create good lives for themselves, their families, and communities from the northernmost tip of the Gullah-Geechee corridor in Wilmington, North Carolina, which I heard is a beautiful place, and they have nice beaches. It's a coastal town. In ports of Florida, the enslaved to the freedmen, to the newly emancipated in the 1860s, forged a path that would ultimately include union membership in the International Longshoremen Association, the largest union of maritime workers in the United States. Black longshoremen worked alongside immigrants and non-blacks though there were often divisions and a few violent clashes between the groups. In some cities, Black longshoremen were driven out of work, often hazed, bullied into performing menial tasks to prove worthiness and accept lower wages. In other cities, the predominant number of longshoremen were African American, Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans. The hardworking longshoremen also worked all together all throughout the Gulf Coast, especially within the Galveston, Texas port area, Biloxi, Mississippi, all those coastal cities. That's in the Gulf Coast. The article ended on this note, stating that over the years, Gulf Coast longshoremen and women have been at the front of some very important civil rights campaigns, especially in the Charleston, South Carolina. The Charleston ILA's tradition of political work dates back to the Reconstruction era, when the Union was founded as an association of newly emancipated waterfront workers. During the first Poor People's Campaign, the ILA shut down the East Coast, Southern, and Midwest ports in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. following his April 4th, ironically, I think today is the day that Martin Luther King was killed. It's April 4th, 2023, and he was killed April 4th, 1968, his assassination. The men, ironically, I'm making this video on that day. Men and women, so rest in peace to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. The men and women who worked longshoring like their ancestors are often subject to some dangerous and life-threatening duties. Longshoring is not a cake job, but it is a job that has purchased freedom, homes, and businesses, as well as funded causes that have helped generations of Gullah-Geechee people living in the corridor, and nothing but love and respect to them. And I will say that I don't care what part of the United States that you live in right now, if you live in any corridor that is within minutes to an hour from a coastline and you own real estate, my advice to you is to do your best to keep that real estate in your family. I don't care if it's land, I don't care if it's a shack, keep it in your family, because no matter what state you live in nowadays, if it's a beach coastal line, or if you're in a major city and you own real estate in the United States of America, regardless who's in the White House, governor's house, mayor's house, forget that political nonsense. You're sitting on prime real estate, and I'll leave it at that. All right. So anyway, don't forget, Larry's Anything Goes is selling a variety of products on our online store. Don't forget to check us out. And if you're a stock market investor, a crypto investor, individual retirement account investor, don't forget to check out WEBULL-acornscrypto.com. It's Coinbase. All those platforms, you'll be able to make some money, get some free stock, all that great stuff. Specifically with WEBULL, you get some free stock. And if you want to join Air Miles program, get a credit card and be able to get Air Miles, check out my link with United Airlines. Hey, you have the opportunity to do that. And if you want to have a business credit card, think about joining American Express. The links are in the description. Hey, all about me helping you make money moves, and you make money moves all at the same time as well. On that note, don't forget to do the great 3 free things: like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. And as I always say, you can't get fired if you own the company. And these longshoremen did a great job of ensuring that they worked hard, build great jobs, communities for their families. In certain instances, even used money to build their own businesses so that they didn't have to worry about getting fired from the company because they owned it. So, as I always say, make money moves, or you're going to live, bro, like a fool. Take care, family.